If someone walked away from you, you'd probably ask yourself this question more than once. Was I not enough? But what if the truth is, they didn't leave because you lacked something, they left because you offered too much of the one thing they didn't. Do you know how to receive? Safety. Most people believe someone leaves because love wasn't strong enough. But avoidants don't leave love. They leave safety. They leave relationships that don't demand performance, don't require emotional labor, and don't create chaos, because chaos feels familiar. Safety does not, and when something feels unfamiliar, the nervous system reads it as danger, even if the heart feels calm. For avoidance, safety isn't neutral. It activates old memories of emotional invasion, loss of autonomy, or being needed in ways they couldn't sustain. So when you showed up consistently, when you didn't chase or control, when you didn't demand emotional explanations, their nervous system whispered, "This is too much," not because you overwhelmed them, but because they couldn't regulate closeness without losing themselves. Avoidants rarely leave in drama. They leave in silence. They don't argue. They don't explain. They simply pull away. Because pulling away restores control. When they feel safe, they feel shown. And being seen threatens the defenses they built to survive. So instead of leaning in, they disappear. Here's what most people don't realize. When avoidants leave a safe love, they don't immediately feel pain. Their nervous system feels relief. Relief from closeness. Relief from vulnerability. Relief from the quiet pressure of being emotionally known. This relief is often mistaken for clarity. They tell themselves they made the right choice because it feels calm again. But calm is not the same as wholeness. The love you offered didn't demand anything from them. It didn't threaten their independence. It didn't try to change them. It simply held space. And that is the kind of love you only recognize the value of after you've lost it. Not immediately. Not dramatically. But later, when they realize how rare it is to feel safe without being owned, loved without being consumed, and seen without being controlled. They didn't leave because they didn't love you. They left because they weren't ready to stay present inside safety. And if you're listening to this right now, still questioning your worth, let this land gently. You are not too much. You are too safe for someone who learned to survive in distance. Soft pause, breath, and that kind of love. The quiet, regulated, grounded kind is not replaceable. One of the most painful things after loving someone with an avoidant attachment style is watching them move on so quickly. You see the new photos, the new smiles, the new connection, and the thought that just twists the knife is, was I that easy to replace? I want to share a truth with you that most people won't. They might replace the relationship, but they can't replace what you gave them. Avoidants don't move on fast because they didn't care. They move on fast because being alone with their own emotions feels completely unbearable. A new person isn't about finding new love. It's about regulation. It's a distraction. The novelty provides distance from the feelings that your absence brought to the surface. This isn't healing. It's just avoidance, wearing a different mask. You see, avoidants don't really look for deep connection. They look for relief. The new person helps them feel less lonely and feel desired again. Anything to avoid sitting with a feeling of loss. But relief isn't intimacy. And that initial spark of novelty is not the same as genuine safety. What you gave them wasn't just excitement. It was emotional regulation through your calm presence. And that can't be replaced by simple chemistry. At first, the new relationship feels easy and light. There are no expectations, no real depth yet, no shared emotional history. This is the avoidance comfort zone. But what they're truly enjoying is the absence of being known, because you knew them. You saw past their silence. You felt the things they could never say out loud. That kind of intimacy isn't easy to find. It requires emotional courage. An avoidant partner will rarely say, "I miss how safe I felt with you." Instead, they just say nothing. But internally, they miss how calm their body felt around you. They miss how they didn't have to perform or put on a show. They miss how your very presence regulated their nervous system. They might enjoy someone new, but they don't feel held in the same way. Because true safety isn't loud, it's quiet. And that quiet love is only missed in the silence that follows. So, if what you gave was so irreplaceable, why don't they come running back? Because returning would mean admitting their loss, and for an avoidant, loss threatens their entire self-image. Coming back requires vulnerability, while staying away preserves their sense of control. So they stay busy, distracted, and emotionally unavailable, even inside a new relationship. They don't realize what they lost the moment you leave. They realize it when the new connection starts demanding depth, or when the silence inevitably returns. That's when they notice. This doesn't feel the same. Not worse, just emptier. And that's when your presence becomes unforgettable. Here's the truth that can free you from the pain of comparison. You are not replaced. You are experienced, and an experience that calms the nervous system leaves a permanent imprint. It doesn't fade. It doesn't just disappear. It becomes the quiet standard that everything else is measured against. And whether they ever admit it or not, what you gave them will live in their body far longer than any new face ever could. You weren't loved less. You were loved at a depth they just weren't ready to stay present for. And that kind of love is never, ever truly replaced. Thanks for watching. There is a moment almost no one talks about. A moment that doesn't happen when you leave. And not even when they miss you. It happens later. Much later. It tests the moment an avoidant finally becomes ready for real intimacy and realizes you're no longer there to receive it. Avoidants don't become ready while love is available. They become ready after repetition, after loss, after emotional exhaustion. Readiness is not sparked by comfort, it's sparked by contrast. Only after they've lost safety do they understand what safety actually was. And by the time that awareness arrives, you are often already gone. Being ready doesn't mean they suddenly want romance. It means they can finally sit with discomfort. They stop running from vulnerability. They feel instead of numb. This readiness often comes through therapy, solitude, or failed connections. And when it arrives, their body remembers one thing. The person who loved them without asking them to perform. That's when regret begins. Regret doesn't come when they think about you. It comes when they realize they now have the capacity to hold what you once offered, but no longer have access to you. This regret is quiet, private, unshared, because admitting it would mean facing a painful truth. That Teddy mine, not the love, was wrong. When they think of you now, they don't remember drama. They remember how calm it felt, how safe the silence was. Oh, they didn't have to pretend. They realize you didn't pressure them. You waited, and now they understand what waiting actually cost you. That understanding is where grief replaces defense. People assume regret means action, but for avoidance, regret often leads to restraint, not pursuit, because reaching out would require humility, emotional exposure, the risk of rejection. And now they know you're no longer the same person. You've healed. You've grounded. You've moved on, energetically. They feel it, even without confirmation. Here is the most important truth of this entire series. Their regret is not the climax of your story. Growth is, by the time they become ready, you no longer need them to be. You no longer wait. You no longer hope. You no longer measure your worth by their capacity to love. And that's why this ending is not tragic. It's complete. Some loves are not meant to be kept. They are meant to be remembered. Not because they failed, but because they arrived before both people were ready. The avoidant will regret not because they lost you, but because they finally became the person who could have loved you well, and realized you had already become someone who no longer waits. You were not forgotten. You were not replaced. You were outgrown in awareness. And the love you gave will always live as the one they were finally ready for. Too late.